Hello, everyone. It's me, Andrew. I'm here in my home in lovely Ligonier, Pennsylvania. Hopefully, you all are having a great Wednesday so far. It's been a busy day here, as it usually is. Um, had a little bit of a rough start today, and I had a little bit of a headache, but I'm rallying and hopefully we can keep this going. I originally was going to go to the cottage, but unfortunately, my keys were not where I thought they were. So um, I had to mad dash here and do a plan B. So yeah, so here we are. I think it'll still be fun. Sometimes things don't work out, and that's all right. You just kind of have to roll with it and go where you can go, I guess. Um, so tomorrow I'm going to be leaving for Providence, Rhode Island. I'm going up for a retreat that I've been helping plan. It's a BIPOC retreat that is sponsored by the Society of Inclusive Blacksmiths, and it's for a bunch of folks, not just blacksmithing, but any BIPOC artist who works in metal. So there's going to be people who do work in pewter. There's people who work in steel. It's going to be really cool. I'm super excited for it. It's our first one ever. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see how that works out. I have a friend that I'm going to be picking up at the airport on Friday morning, and hopefully, we're going to make a little field trip out to the Fuller Museum because it's in between Boston Airport and Providence. So I'm excited for that. I'm going to make a couple things and list them on my timeline to make some gas money up. They were very kind, and we got a lot of sponsorships through the state of Rhode Island, through the Steel Yard, and through Surf Plus and the Society of Inclusive Blacksmiths. And there's a bunch of groups who kind of rallied together to make that possible. And they thankfully covered housing, so that's awesome because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to get another place. And it's not necessarily inexpensive in that area. But luckily, that all came together, and the planning committee has a nice place to stay. So I'm excited for that and to meet some of the folks that I've only been chatting with on the internet. If you are a BIPOC artist who works in metal and you're in that area, I definitely encourage you to come because we're going to hang out. If you are interested, I would recommend going to the Society of Inclusive Blacksmiths website, and there should be a drop down menu that has the BIPOC cohort retreat. It's called Spark, SPARC. And check that out. And yeah, it'll be a fun weekend. So I'm excited for that. That's happening this weekend. If you're coming to Johnstown for the Cambria City Iron Festival that's happening at the Center for Metal Arts, stop by and see us. I know a couple of you are blacksmiths or are interested in blacksmithing or have people in your life who are involved with that. So check that out. That's it in Johnstown, and it should be a fun weekend. There's some cool people who are going to be in town for that. And I'm kind of bummed that it's happening at the same time as the retreat. So hopefully next year we won't do that because I think it could be really, I've gone before and it's been a lot of fun. So I was kind of bummed that the schedule worked out the way it did, but it is what it is. Tomorrow I have a bunch of meetings, so it's going to be interesting to be on the road and trying to do all that and squeeze that in. I'm going to pull off at the rest station and sit down and have a video conference from the car. I think it's pretty wild that technology exists, and I can still do meetings and be on the road at the same time. So, yeah. All right. So I see a couple of folks have tuned in. Suzanne is watching. Hi, Suzanne. Susie, our neighbor, is watching. Hey, Susie. Teresa's watching. Hey there. Karen's watching. Hey, Karen. Yeah, if you're watching, say hello, maybe say where you're tuning in from. And of course, if you can like and share our videos, it helps tremendously. We've been working with StreamYard for the past couple of years now, and they're going to make some more changes. So this past year, they eliminated streaming to certain Facebook groups. So unfortunately, that means that a lot of the places that we were streaming, we can no longer stream unless we share it into that group from a page. So it's just one more extra step that makes it a little bit harder. Barbara's watching. Hey, Barbara from Michigan. And Lennis is watching. Hey, Lennis. And Cheryl's watching. She says, howdy, working tonight, but I'm listening in. Oh, good. I heard the good news that you're starting up an online shop for your jewelry soon. That's exciting. I wish you a lot of luck. And if you have any questions or need any help, just let us know. We're always happy to help in the AG Bead fam. While we're hanging out, there's a couple other things that I wanted to talk about before we get down to the lots tonight. This is not going to be as long of a show tonight because I was going to go to the cottage earlier and pick up some more stuff there. However, I didn't have my key, so I couldn't get in. And we already have enough busted up windows. I didn't want to add another one. So yeah, so we're gonna have just 20 lots tonight, and hopefully y'all will like this. I picked most of this out for myself, for from Ava's visit. I was going to have a big mix of stuff. So there was going to be stuff from Ava's collection, and there's going to be stuff from my collection, all kinds of stuff. But maybe I was going to say tomorrow night, but I'm not going to be here, and I don't want while I'm rooting around in my stuff. Um, so we're gonna do that when I get the rest of this vintage glass show when I get back. But we do have some things that are super nice, and I hope you all will like them. Nancy is watching. Hey, Nancy. And yeah, so I'm excited. It's going to be fun, I think. So before we get started, I did want to mention that we're doing a last call for the Beads of Courage fundraiser that we're helping with. So unfortunately, we couldn't make an outright donation on our own. So instead, what we did is we made some kits and we made some luxury bead blends to sell to then make a donation to Beads of Courage for their Forever Home campaign. They're trying to get their down payment together, and Tucson's a big city, so it's kind of a lot of money. I mean, not crazy compared to some places, but it is more than say Johnstown, for example. So anyways, we're doing a last call on that because they have a fundraising deadline, and we want to make sure to get our donation in before the end. They're creeping up on their goal. Hopefully, they can reach it because they're a really worthy organization. And I have a lot of love for Jean and the crew at Beads of Courage. So, yeah, hopefully they are able to raise the money they need because they do help children and families facing serious illnesses and help heal through art and storytell through beads. So that's a cause that's been near and dear to my heart for 20 years now. So it's pretty wild to think that. I remember Jean when she came up to the booth in Tucson, and I think she was pregnant at the time and maybe had a little one with her. And she's talking about this thing that she's doing. and then it came to be, and now it's a international organization, and they help children and families all over the U.S. I know they do that here in Pittsburgh. So it's a really wonderful organization. And if you're not interested in getting a kit or in the luxury bead blend, you can, but you still want to donate, you can donate directly to them. What I would recommend is going to their Facebook page, and it should be right there near the top. And look for the Forever Home campaign for Beads of Courage. Susan's watching. Hey, Susan. Yeah, so we've got some cool check blasts tonight. I thought I would do maybe a little project. You know, I don't like to do just selling. I like to mix it up and keep it fresh and exciting. So maybe we'll start with a project first, and then we'll get into the rest of the evening. So I also have some other things in the works. We've always got stuff in the works. For one of the things that I did was I made a piece for an exhibition, and I just was too slow and I missed the deadline, which kind of sucks, but that's all right because I can use it for something else. So it's not like it's that I can't do something with it. So I'll think of, there's a couple other shows that I'm going to be applying to, and I'm going to need more work. That's one of the things that I kind of got into kind of a pickle this summer, is because I was having so many exhibitions and I had so many things out in the world that unfortunately I didn't have anything to show. So I actually had to turn one of the places down because I didn't have any work to show. So I guess that's a good problem to have. But yeah. All right. So let me flip the camera around, and then we'll kind of get going. Let folks filter in, and we'll hang out. Right. All right. So you're gonna see the ceiling for a minute. I we need to get different lights, I think, because these are blazing hot, and I always feel like I'm gonna like roast my eyebrows off. Ultra back, ultra wide camera. All right, so here's that. Here's this. I see Vanessa's watching. Hi, Vanessa. Hopefully you're having a great Wednesday. I've got my calipers here. And let me turn on the other lights. There's a project that I've been working on for my exhibitions. I don't just make things to sell in the shop. I make stuff for galleries and museums, and I'm hoping to go to New York City Jewelry Week this year. We've been planning to go for the past, I don't know, several years, and every time something's come up, like last year, my dad got sick during that time, so unfortunately I couldn't go. And the year before that, we had bought we got our Airbnb reservation. We paid for it and everything. And then Barnaby got super sick, and we thought he was going to die. And so we had to cancel the trip. So that I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm not supposed to be there. I don't know. Danette's watching. Hey, Danette. So later this evening, I've got these really fun vintage German glass beads. We've got these from Ava, and they're really cool because they have a core that is a color, and then there's that little bumpy texture on top that's in the clear. So it kind of also magnifies it and has this kind of really cool effect, I think. I think those are so cool. and I'm going to use a couple of them. The thing is, I want when I'm designing, sometimes I like to have what are called treasure necklaces or treasure bracelets. I like the idea of like a lot of different things. I like it. There's just something nice about that. And then I also have my Beads of Courage kit. So maybe I'm going to pull some stuff out from that. In theory, we should have planned like a make along or something, but I don't know. All right, I think I'm going to use 3 for the focal of this. I'm going to spread those out. They've got these fun kind of this is in the Beads of Courage kit that we put together that's on the website. I'm going to put some of that in there, I think. And then I think I'm also going to put I have some really beautiful blue chalcedony. These are some faceted coins. I think those are cool. This is kind of how I work. I just kind of lay things out and see how they go. And I have some blue quartz. Some of y'all might have some of this. And it's really cool. It's real subtle. It's not like bling bling in your face too bad, which I don't mind. Everything has its place, right? And I'm going to put some of that, I think. And let me see. Let me put this. I don't know. We'll see. Vanessa said, I was just rewatching the Ava video. Can we still order? You can order the from the Flowers and Leaves video, but the other ones where she's in the video, unfortunately, you can't. But I have some more glass tonight too, so I picked it out for myself, and I was going to use it for myself, but then I decided to share. So that way, you know, folks can get some. I know some folks, they said they couldn't come this weekend or attend. So, it's nice to have things for folks who couldn't come. I think I'm going to swap maybe one of the, I don't know. I think that's kind of cool. Maybe let me put this in there too. Break up all that like light kind of blue color. Let me think about that. And then let's see. I might put some gold metal spacers. You'll know how I like that flavor. For me, I like to put spacers. I had them up here, but I don't see them. So, oh, here they are. Oh, good. I was getting kind of worried. I was like, I love those. And then I couldn't find them. All right, so here's some metal seed beads. I'm just going to put some of those on a little pile there. And I love this toggle. This is a Vermeil toggle. We had some of these a while ago in the shop. So if you don't know what Vermeil is, it's like a gold-plated silver, except the plating is really thick. So I like that because it adds a nice richness to it. And you're going to see when this is put together like this, sometimes people are like, how do you work that? And it's put together so when you pick it up, it comes in a set. So you have the toggle bar and you have the loop, and that way it doesn't get kind of messed up. So when you open and close jump rings, y'all know this probably. You hold one side stationary and then you pivot the other side. And the reason why you do that is so that it doesn't distort the shape. So if your jump ring is like this, you go like this and you move it like that. And I use the pliers because the pliers are smaller than my fingers and I can get in there a lot better than if I try to use my fingers. Also, I don't want to accidentally cut myself. Because sometimes what happens is the ends of stuff get a little bit sharp. And I'm not going to throw this away. I once was in a workshop with somebody and I saw them and they threw away this this sterling silver jump ring. I was like, whoa, you can use that in another project. So there you go. All right, so I'm gonna put these in between my pieces. And I like to do this because it breaks up some of the, it kind of adds another color element. It also makes it look almost knotted, which I think is nice without actually knotting it. And the other thing is that when you have a piece and it's like all different kinds of stuff, I think what's nice about that is it gives that kind of, if you have little spacers, it kind of gives a uniformity to the piece that you don't have otherwise. So I like to have this be spaced out like this. I know some people don't like that, but they're like, oh, it just looks too symmetrical or whatever, but I think it's nice. It gives it a little bit of I think I will swap that out for that. That's big enough that it can hold up. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this soft flex, and I've got this soft flex, which is a flexible beading wire, and it's in turquoise and turquoise. I heard somebody and they called it turquoise, and I was like, what are you, I don't know what you're talking about. And they were trying to say turquoise. But the reason why this is cool is because when you have transparent beads or beads that are semi-transparent, kind of translucent, it will pick up the color of the beading wire. And so it can you can do some fun things kind of playing with that. So I always work on the spool like this. Some people they like to measure everything out and cut everything, but you know what? What happens if you mess up? And you're like a quarter of an inch, you need a quarter of an inch more beading wire, then you have to start over and cut another piece, and then you have this random little piece of wire hanging out, and maybe you have a project for it, maybe it's something you have to wait on. So I just work off the spool, and if you're by yourself in your studio, um, you know, it's not hard. You don't have to share. Now, when you're in like a classroom setting, then sometimes you can't do that all the time. But yeah, so I found out that my class in North Carolina at Sawtooth, there were a couple cancellations in the class. So we're down to, I think, only 4 students. So that kind of makes me a little bit, in one way I don't mind because I get paid the same. But in the other way, though, it's a little bit more fun when there's more people. So yeah, so they're gonna open up. I don't know if they've announced this publicly yet, but they are going to open up registration again for a very limited time. So if you missed out on registering the first time, because they closed the registration down, then you're gonna have a second chance. So If you missed on that, then you can always check that out. We're going to be doing um, oh, I was like, what are y'all talking about? Because I was seeing somebody talking about something. Um, and they're talking about typos and where names come from, which is always cool. Anyway, so the class registration is, if it's not open now, just email them at Sawtooth. We're going to be doing color on metal, and it's going to be jam packed. We're going to have cold applications, hot applications, and I think it's going to be fun. We're going to have a lot of fun things that we're working on that I think y'all will like. And so it's a good opportunity to hang out with me and William, and I think it should be fun. And I need to make sure I have some. I don't know if we're gonna do if they want to have a slideshow while I'm there. So I need to work on that kind of too, because I don't want to get surprised and then be like, oh, by the way, time to get up and talk about your work for 10 minutes, which is no problem. I mean, I talk about my work all the time, but I don't want to be, I need to ask them if they plan to do that. Because I don't like to get, caught without having a plan. So right now I'm just stringing up some beads that I laid out in a pattern. These have some vintage glass. It's got the blue quartz. It's got the blue chalcedony, and some check glass and some metal spacers. And I think, this is going pretty quick. Pretty quick. And then we'll go into the vintage glass slots right after I finish this up. All right, so this is what it looks like so far. And this is the piece that I just strung up. I kind of like that. That looks good. All right, I'm gonna see if it fits. I don't always make stuff for myself. A lot of times I make things to sell in the shop. So, my wrist is maybe not the best indicator of that. But what I'm doing is I'm just kind of testing out how big it is and to see if I like that length. I can always measure this. One trick that you can do if you have trouble with your bracelet sizing is to take a piece of string or beads or whatever. Like, for instance, I have this strand of blue quartz, and I'm going to tie a knot in this so I don't accidentally spill the beads everywhere. And then it says, I was supposed to come take that class in North Carolina, but my friend bailed. Oh no. Yeah, they had some weird cancellations. And I don't know. We had a full class at one point, and then now it's down to 4. So I got I don't know what happened. But anyways, so I wrapped this around my wrist and I measured that, and I can measure that. So that's about 7 inches. So I know that I need at least 7 inches, which I have just a little bit more than that, which is okay. Because I want this to be snug, but not too snug. Now, the thing is I'm going to actually take this jumper back off, but I'm not going to throw this away like that one person. Um, the, um, the thing is is you've got two things you've got to keep in mind. This is going to add extra length to your bracelet. Now, if you do toggle style bracelets, here's something that you have to be kind of aware of. If it's too loose, if this is too loose, then it will come loose. Your toggle will come loose, and then it will be gone. No more. It will fall down, and then that's it. You don't have it anymore. So, getting the right size on bracelets is kind of tricky. And I love a good bracelet, but they are actually not one of my favorite things because the sizing. Now, if you have an adjustable one with like a lobster clasp or like a fun kind of thing that's adjustable, that's one thing. But if you're working on like this, um, you do have to be mindful of the length, and that can sometimes be tricky. So I don't make a whole lot of bracelets, or if I do, I kind of go in with it knowing that they probably aren't going to work out. I don't know. I don't know how to say that. But it is one of those things that it is a very custom thing. All right. So in theory, I have some what do you call them things? Crimp tubes, but I don't see them. So I'm gonna look real quick. Oh, there they are. Oh, good. I'm glad I have to play root around and seek and find, because that's not necessarily one of my favorite things when I'm trying to do a demo. But they were right there on the floor, and I spotted them with my eagle eyes. All right. So here's the thing that I'm just going to do this. Probably y'all know how to do these close up the crimp tube, but I'm just going to go over it for those who haven't done it before or maybe need a refresher. I'm going to do one side at a time. All right. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to string on my crimp tube. If you see that, it's a little tube of metal. Supposedly they're seamless, and that is good. When you use crimp tubes, I recommend getting the best crimp tubes that you can afford. And it's not because I'm trying to be fancy and bougie and all that, but if you use a base metal thing, crimp tube like pewter, then it will break. It's not a question of if it will break, it's when it will break. And we used to do repairs in the shop, and that is probably one of the number one most repaired things that we had to do is when a crimp tube fails. So just keep that in mind. It's super important to get the best crimp tubes that you can get. So, and usually a pure metal or sterling silver is an alloy. Um, so sterling silver, gold filled, copper, um, look for those and avoid anything like pewter or tin, because those are basically just junk. Just if you find that in your stash, just save yourself some trouble and throw it in the garbage. And normally, you'll never hear me say stuff like that, because I'm somebody who doesn't like to waste stuff. I like to, you know, find a thing for it. Maybe you could use them as spacers, but even then, I'd be tempted to pitch it. Um, all right, I see a couple more folks have tuned in. Let me see. Susan says bracelets are so hard. Gauge are so hard to gauge the size of. Yeah, Harry's watching. Hey, Harry. Yeah, it's not one of my favorite things, but I do love them. So um, there's that. So what I'm going to also do is I strung on my crimp tube, and now I'm going to string on one of these metal seed beads. And I like to have something in between because then it's not rubbing directly against the class. All right, so I strung on my 1/2 of my toggle. I'm going to bend that over. I'm going to keep the wires parallel to each other. That means they're going to be laying next to each other. And I'm going to try not to cross them. I'm going to slip that bead on, and that's going to help keep things together. And make sure it's not twisted up. And then I'm going to slip on the crimp tube. All right. Now the next thing I'm going to do is, now if you also, they do have this thing called a wire guard, and you can put that over there. I don't kind of like those. I mean, it kind of looks very utilitarian to me. So it's not my favorite. So, but I know some people, they just love them and they use them all the time. So you just do whatever makes you happy. All right. So when I'm on, Angela says replay. No, we're going live right now. We're live right now. So just scroll up to the front and you'll be there. All right. So this is called a crimping plier. There's two main notches in a crimping plier. There's the one closest to your hand, and that makes the taco. And then there's the one closest to the tip, and that closes the taco. And you'll see what I mean in a second. So what you're going to do is you're going to find the notch that's closest to your hand. You're going to put that in that notch, and then you're going to gently close that up. In theory, what's going to happen is you're not going to cross your wires. The wires aren't going to cross. It's like Ghostbusters. You don't want to cross the streams. Otherwise, stuff happens. And when I mean stuff happens, sometimes what happens if you cross your flexible beading wire inside of the crimp tube, when you go to close it, what can happen is, though, it's steel against steel, basically, and it can cut inside of there. So you want to be careful, and you don't have to squeeze too hard. That's one of the other things that I see is I see people who, they try to be like Hercules, they try to be like He-Man or She-Ra, and they put their whole back into it, and they're going to squeeze the heck out of it, and then guess what happens? It falls apart because it breaks. Okay, now what I'm going to do, if you can see that, there's a little divot, a little trench that runs across it. I'm going to turn that on the side. This one, the one that I just did, made that divot, that taco shape. I'm going to turn that little crimp tube on the side. I'm going to use the end that's closest to the tip, that little notch closest to the tip, and I'm going to gently squeeze. And it's going to fold that in half, just like that. Easy peasy. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my flush cutters, and I'm going to go right up there. I'm going to make sure I'm getting the end that isn't the main wire, because I've seen people do that as well, where they trim the wire and then they basically cut the clasp off. So don't do that. And some people leave a tail. Usually people leave the tail because their crimp tubes fail, and then when they have to restring it, instead of restringing the whole piece, then they have all that extra material, and then they can do that. The only problem with that is that when you restring it, if something breaks, is that it will develop weak spots, and it's more likely to break again and break again in that same spot. So just keep that in mind. The other thing is that if you use crimping pliers, then you're going to have a very secure point of connection. I've made necklaces that have been in shows and all kinds of things, worn by people daily, and it's not broken. So as long as you do it right, then it's pretty good. If you have a crimp tube, and imagine this is like looking at the crimp tube, if you just smash it flat, because I've seen people do that, they take their pliers and they just dink, because they don't want to get the crimping pliers out, and they just squeeze it like that. You know what? It holds. However, imagine if I'm holding your arm, all right, and I go like this, and I hold your hand like this and squeeze it in between. You know what? You will be held. I can hold you like this. However, generally speaking, if I put it and I just hold you like this and you pull your hand or you pull your arm, you can work your arm out. However, if I hold you like this and grip you like this, then it's less likely that it's going to come loose. So, just keep that in mind. It's just one of those things where it's just a small thing and yet it can have a a big effect on your piece. Now, what I like to do is I don't like to put too little beading wire on the end. If you want to make yourself go crazy, then cut it real short, and then you can experience what I like to call madness. So, I don't like to experience that. You know, when I first started making jewelry and was using flexible beading wire, I like to use a good beading wire because uh, it's nice. It has a lot of drapeability to it. It is super sturdy. Some of the old school wires, like tiger tail and stuff, they're real kind of rigid and you can kind of kink them, and then your necklace always has like a bend in it. So I like this. I've used this for years and years and it works really good, and I think it's a quality product. It is a little bit more expensive, so I can see why people don't always use it because it is, a couple dollars more than other brands. And when I first started making jewelry, I didn't have a lot of money, so I would try to use as little of the beading wire as possible so I could make more projects. However, what I realized is that if you cut yourself an extra inch or so of flexible beading wire, that's maybe what, 12 cents worth of beading wire. And you know what? It goes so much easier, so much quicker. You're not messing around with needle nose pliers trying to use the force to get it in through the hole. It's like when they talk about putting a camel through the eye of the needle. It feels like that sometimes. So don't do that to yourself. Give yourself a little extra, and you'll make yourself a lot more happy in your heart. Linus says, I am guilty of the madness. Yeah, I've been there. I used to do it and I would drive myself crazy. And I'd be like, I hate crimping. I hate crimping. I hate crimping. And you know what? You just give yourself a little extra. I was just cutting off, what, an inch and a half of this. It's not even that much. Um, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to string on one crimp tube, one of these little round metal seed beads. That way it's not rubbing right against the clasp. Now there's also another thing before I get into this, before I finish this. So this is the bar of the toggle, right? So if you have great big beads right up against the bar like that, if you have this directly put like this won't be able to flex enough for it to bend into here and fit in here. So if you do have like great big beads, that's fine. You just have to make sure there's enough small beads on the end so that this can pivot off to the side. So generally speaking, it's going to be like this. You want it to be able to comfortably move so that it can reach a vertical position so that you can slip it onto this piece. So if you have a great big piece and you put that right close to it and it can't fully bend, then you're going to struggle to put this on. And I've seen people do it where they're like, I can't put on these bracelets by myself. And sometimes that's because the toggle bar is too close to too big of a bead. All right, so I've got my flexible beading wire. It's almost like a needle, and I'm going to string that through the bar of the toggle, and then I'm going to pass this back through that little round metal seed bead, and then I'm going to push that through that crimp tube. All right, so here is where I'm going to get my pliers out. I'm going to grab that little tail and I'm going to gently pull. And I don't want to pull it too hard because I don't want this to be too stiff, and I don't want this to be too um, rigid. So one of the things I like to do is I just wrap this around my fingers like so. Make sure that I can do that so that there's enough flexibility in this piece that has enough draping to it so that I don't make basically a bookmark. Because if you string this up too tight and you don't give yourself any of that give and flexibility, then when you go to bend it, even though this soft flex is super strong, it'll just snap apart and all your beads will go everywhere. So it's important before you close up this end to do that flexibility test and see. Now, sometimes when you use great big beads, sometimes you have extra wire when it's not, it's the wire is exposed at the end because you need that extra give and leeway so that when the beads do flex into position and they are turned and it's actually worn, that area gets taken up because the beads kind of will roll like that. Right? Does that make sense? I know most of y'all have done this about 11 million times and don't need to learn how to do this but for some of our new people, it's always good to do that. I also think it's good. Okay, so if you didn't see that, I went and used the notch closest to my hand. I gently squeeze the parallel wires. I turning the crimp tube on its side. I'm going to use the notch that's closest to the tip here. I'm going to gently squeeze and fold that in half, and that's going to seal up my piece. And then I'm going to take this, my flesh cutters. I'm going to go right quick up to the tip there and cut that off. All right. And I'm going to throw that wire away. Now, one thing I should also mention is that this is a braided steel product. And one person was like, oh my gosh, my pliers or my flesh cutters are so dull. And they had been using the same cutters for years and years and years. And the steel eventually kind of dulled them down. So that's just something that happens if you do a lot of stringing, to be mindful of that. That if it seems like it's not cutting as well as it did when you first opened the package, that may be why, because it's cutting steel wire. All right, so I can put this on. I'm gonna try and do it one-handed, y'all. Because I'm by myself today, flying solo. And let's see if I can do it one-handed or not. And yes. So this is a little loose, but that's all right. It's not the end of the world, and it seems like it's not going to come apart. Because I don't like it to be too tight, but I also don't want it to be too loose. What do y'all think of that? Do y'all like this? Look how it makes those blue quartz even more blue. And then it picks up those blue quartz in between. They pick up kind of that light of the metal spacers. I think that's fun. And it says pretty. Thank you. Tried hard, y'all. Now, if you want, you could get that jump ring back out like this and add like a little charm. If you have a little charm in the weighting, if you want a little bit of movement, you can put a little bit of razzle dazzle up in there. Now the bails on these toggles are large enough that you could probably, if you wanted to, add multiple strands. You do have to be careful because, like I said, if you don't have enough give on the one side, it can kind of mess that up. So that could be cute. Have it be a multi-strand. Maybe have that blue quartz with these little gold spacers in between. So if you wanted to do that, then it can kind of beef this up and make it, a little bit more a little bit more unique. And you can play around with this. You know, if you try it and you don't like it, you can always cut it off. It's not the end of the world. I know sometimes it can feel that way. Sometimes you have an idea in your head and you want it to work out. But sometimes it doesn't work out, and sometimes you have to pivot your idea. Susan says, I prefer slightly loose. I won't wear anything that fits like a tourniquet. I agree. I don't like it to be too tight. But like I said earlier, if it's too loose, then your beads will go away. And then that's kind of sad as well. All right. So maybe what I'll do is I've got some head pins here. So let's bust out some things here. All right, so I'm going to take out 2 head pins. And let me see, I'm going to pull off one of these blue quartz because I have one floating around here. You can see me working on this knot. Sometimes I just cut the knots off, but I like it also so that I can tie it off and then I don't lose all my beads. So that's one thing that I like to do. So I don't want to make that too short. Sometimes if you have a needle, like if you're seed beading, that also helps with knots. I'm going to use this head pin. Just put that in there. There you go. All right. So I need one of these. I'm going to put this on here. And I really like to I'm gonna have a little matching set here. I'm gonna pull off another of the vintage glass. And I'm gonna look at this. So that looks okay. That's not my favorite. Let me see what this looks like if I add a little ball at the end of this. So for me, if I don't like something, then I take it apart and redo it. Because, you know, I think it's one of those things like I can string this up and take a look at it. And if I like it, like I like this even less. So I'm not going to do that. But I don't know unless I try it. I do think I need something in between here. So, because there's like something that's awkward between this size and this. I need something in there. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some jump rings. And I'm gonna get some thicker size. I'm gonna get, if I had another one of these, that would be excellent, but I don't, unfortunately. And if I do, I don't see it. But the reason why, you'll see what I'm doing. I think it's a fun way to do this because, oh, there is. Looky there. 2 of these Vermeil jump rings. Imagine that. I manifested that just now, y'all. Can we do like a couple million, please? I got some plans. My birthday's coming up and I want to do something fun. I was thinking about maybe driving up to Niagara Falls or something. Or go to the beach. I haven't been to the beach in, it seems like years. So that would be nice. All right. So I'm just flattening these out, making sure that they're nice and even. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these off. I'm going to string up one of these head pins or these jump rings onto the head pin. And then I'm going to put this in there like so. And this would be better if it was soldered shut, but I kind of like that anyways. So I'm going to put that like that. And what that's going to do is it's going to smooth that transition between that little bead and this larger bead. And see how that jump ring just kind of gently connects those. Let me take that off so you can see the difference. See, take a look at how these look. Just that slight change. This one is with the jump ring and this is without the jump ring. And look how different it looks. Maybe not like wildly different, but I think that the jump ring right here helps smooth that transition out a little bit. So I think that's nice, you can have it be, I think that's nice. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my round nose pliers. And then we're just going to make some simple wire wrap loops. Now, sometimes they call them rosary pliers because a lot of times they're used to make rosaries. There are these. I'm going to preface, I string up my, or I wire wrap very differently than most people. So, everybody does it differently. This is how I do it. So I'm going up about half an inch and then I fold it over and it makes the kind of paper clip. I reinsert this back into that bend and then I wrap this around. And then it kind of looks like this, where it's like karate chop up. And then I kind of notch it to the side. And so it's at a 90-degree angle. And then I put this back on there like so, because this is my mandrel. And then I'm going to take and wrap it around. Now, there's a couple things you should be mindful of if you do it like I do it, is you cannot have too tight of a grip, because if you do, what's going to happen is you're going to notch up the tops of your wire. Now, before I get too wrapped around, I'm going to slightly bend this inward, kind of like a cyclone shape, so that when I take and I press this in, like I'm doing now, it's going to tuck nice and easily underneath my coil. Sometimes that's harder to do, but these are real nice and smooth, so it worked out pretty well. But sometimes what happens if the wire's too hard, it's kind of hard to like adjust just the tip, but worked out. All right, so I'm going to do that with this one. And then I'm just going to bend this over like so. And then I'm going to kind of notch it. And notice I'm moving in small motions. I've seen people where they don't like to let go of the wire for some reason. The end gets all chewed up. And I don't like to have, some people like to cut the wire so that there's like a really smooth, kind of like mechanical precision. But I like the way that looks with the wire. It looks like ancient jewelry that I admire. So I like that kind of like coiled wire look, and I don't like it to waste it. So, and I think it adds like a nice little transition point. So I've got this, and there you go. Look at that. That's how I have it. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on some lever back. Maybe I'm not going to do lever backs. Maybe I do prefer a lever back, but I don't see those readily available. So I'll just get two of these ear wires. They're already made, so why not? Some gold-filled ear wires. And then I'm just gonna open them up like so. slip it on. I'm going to make sure that the front looks good because I don't want, like, because there is sometimes you can see where the end of the wire is, and sometimes I don't, it bothers me, sometimes I don't care. But in this case, I'm going to make it so that that's in the back, and then that pretty side is in the front. All right. So there's this. I made a pair of earrings and a bracelet, and using the vintage glass. What do y'all think? Y'all like that? All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put these metal seed beads away so that they're not all rolling all over everything. And then we're going to get to it. How about it? We're going to do 20 lots tonight. And most of them are from our friend Ava, who a lot of y'all got some of the poly resin and the vintage plastic. Lena says, I love them. Thank you. But we didn't show a ton of the glass. We showed only like maybe 8 lots of the glass. And then the other night we did some flowers and leaves because we got a special request for it and we weren't able to do it live. So and look how much is left over in that kit. That Beads of Courage kit. I harvested one of the faceted pearls, one of those great big faceted pearls, and then these check glass two-tone faceted rounds. And we have so much left over. I probably could have broken it up and maybe added some of this cream, the mother of pearl, to it. But, I think that's fine. If this was a gold one, that would have looked killer. It'd be beach time for sure. Or if I use silver instead. And then I do like mixed metals, so I'm not opposed to it. But sometimes I do like things to kind of like coordinate a little bit because, like I was saying earlier, there's something nice about having that continuity when you have a piece all strung up. It helps bring the eye around. So like those little spacers kind of move your eye around the piece, and then that kind of the toggle is kind of like the punctuation mark of the piece. So it's like boom, boom. So I like that when I'm designing. Now the other thing is I've got these in kind of an orange color, and these I saved for myself. And that would be really cool if you didn't want to do monochromatic. You could do contrasting colors. So if you have like you don't want to use these kind of bright, the all blue, you could also put that, and that would look cool too because these are contrasting colors, and that makes that look so it pops that really good. So it's all up to you and how you want to do it, but that's how, I like this monochromatic look, but I also would not mind swapping out these ones and having that kind of contrast. So you'll see those in some projects in the future because I set those aside for myself. And there you go. All right, easy peasy. All right, so let's get started. Hopefully you're all having a good night, and we're going to get started with the lot. So we've got vintage glass tonight. The first lot is not from the Ava Motherwell collection, is from our stash of vintage glass. And we're going to start with MVG1, and it's $12, and you get a baggie of these clear frosted matte little drops. Now I'm going to go over how you can claim these things in case you're new or you want a refresher. So up at the top here, you see this up at the top? maybe harder on Instagram with stuff being so little, but I'm going to walk you through it. Up here at the top, you've got all of our contact info. So it has our website, it has our at symbol, and it has our email address. The email address should be in the upper right hand corner. See that? It says info at Allegory Gallery. That's ALLEGALLERY.com. I know that um, sometimes people will misspell allegory, or they will just put allegory, and we will not see either of those. So it is important that you use the proper email address, and that's info at allegorygallery.com. Suzanne says, are matte gemstones less costly than shiny gemstones? Not necessarily. And one of the reasons why I say that is because generally speaking, it's when you have the machines that make rounds, they polish them. It's this machine that has like these three arms that reach in like this, and then you put a cube bead in there, and it kind of rolls it around in between these polishing discs, and it turns it into a round. And so it actually polishes them up. I find that matte stones are more expensive. And usually the reason why, and this is particularly in the case of glass, is because when you heat glass up, it naturally wants to go shiny. So with glass, to get them matte, you either have to sandblast them or do a chemical process of acid etching. So it's another step, and generally speaking, another step means another added cost because it's not just straight out the thing. So usually matte glass is a little bit more. For stones, I don't know because when they process them, they are matte first. So I don't know. But for us, if we then have, like, a lot of times I'll get stuff that is shiny, and then sometimes I'll put it in the tumbler, and that will help take some of the shine off for some things. Like, I have one customer and she hates shiny. And I get it because I also prefer a lot of matte things. So for some of the gemstones, for her, I've put them in the tumbler and taken the shiny off for her. So there you go. All right. So these ones, they're pretty cool. You get an entire baggie of these. And so this vintage, I think this is vintage German or Czech. And you get these really cool kind of frosted clear, um, kind of gumdroppy shapes. They're they're like little teardrops. They measure approximately 13.4 tall long, approximately 11.6 ish wide, and then approximately 7.9 ish thick. So about, I would say this is, because they go through the extra tumbling step, that's about 14 ish by 12 ish by 8 ish. All right. And they're all a little bit different. But I like how that matte finish really makes it kind of glow. Look how that makes it glow. Whoa. Look at that. It's like that cultured sea glass stuff, but this is vintage. Um, a lot of the cultured sea glass stuff is modern day. We met the person who kind of developed that system. Apparently, back in the day when they have cultured sea glass, people were like, "What the heck is that?" But there's this really bad flooding in his hometown in China, and there was all this famine and sickness, and people were out of work because they couldn't farm. So he brought over the glass manufacturing and then had these great big tumblers, and they put the tumblers in and it mats the surface. So it kind of then it looks like sea glass. All right. Patty says, enjoying you from Nashville. We love you. Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. We actually show a lot. I actually show a lot of work in Tennessee. It's kind of unusual that I have a fairly decent following in Tennessee, which you would have never guessed. But anyway, so this, if you're interested in claiming this tonight, send uh, the lot number, that's MVG1, to info@allegorygallery.com. It's first come, first serve. Don't reply to an old email. Send a fresh new email every time. And send it to info@allegorygallery.com. It's $12 per baggie of this. And I have 6 baggies available. All right. These are fun because they're transparent. So if you have like a soft wax with a colored wire, it can kind of change the look. That one didn't do too, it wasn't too dramatic, but this is the champagne. So I used to have a 24K gold one, and that one looked killer. I love that. But you really can't see that very much. But in theory, if you have a brighter color, you can, or a little bit of a thicker wire or a rigid wire, it will pop through. So help glow from within. All right, so you get a little baggie of those. That's MVG1, $12. Send it to us in an email to info@allegorygallery.com. And I don't know if the email is going to work tonight or not. We've been having some issues with the emails. It seemed like William was having issues the other night, but hopefully it's working tonight. And if somebody wants to send a test email, that might be good too. Just one person do a test email. All right, so you get a full baggie of that. So that's a great deal. A lot of times with vintage glass, it's strung up and a little bit more. All right, so the next step is going to be from the Ava Motherwell collection. This is vintage German glass, and it's a piece that we used in my little tutorial. So this is MVG2, $20 for this strand of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of these clear bumpy beads with the sky blue core. And these are part of the vintage German collection that she got. If you didn't watch the live with Ava, she kind of told us the story about how there was when they were dividing up Eastern Europe, some of them went to Russia, and then some of them went to in the Czech Republic. It was kind of divided up. So people went into Germany, and so they had 48 hours to leave their homes and pack up and leave. And so these Czech people were displaced and they moved to Germany. And to save some of the recipes that they had to like sew the color recipes in their shoes. And as they were kind of refugees, and they brought this glass art form to where they were going to live. So that's the story of the makers of the vintage German glass. And then Ava was telling me that the first time that she went was in 1989, just shortly after the Berlin Wall fell. And after that, she's been picking up vintage German glass and other vintage glass since then. So this is MVG2, $20 for the strand. We have one strand available. And these are roughly 12 millimeters. DominionMovement.com says, I love hearing about the history. Me too. Um, that's one of the things of why we named our shop the way we did. It's because all of the beads we sell all have a story. And allegory means a hidden meaning or story from an image or poem. All right, this is MBG3, $12 for this strand. This is really cool. I love these. They kind of remind me of the Suriname cherries. Is that a real thing? They're real tart. They're not actually cherries, but we had those in Florida growing up. But these are melon shape, and they're in kind of a fun, kind of orangey red with an orange. They kind of look like little pumpkins. See that? You like a little pumpkin? Can do little pumpkin spice earrings. We have one strand of this available. We had somebody send a test and it went through. Thank you so much. So it is working. All right. So this is MVG3, $12 for this strand. We have one strand available. And then these are approximately about 9 millimeters or so. 9 by 8-ish. 7.5, 8. All right, about 8 millimeter. All right, and does it say? No, it doesn't say. So you have one strand available, MVG3, $12 only. And these are part of the Ava Motherwell collection. I bought these originally for myself. Y'all know how I have a deep and abiding love for melon cuts. Maybe you don't know that, but I do. It's true. I love it. I also love this color. We have some, this is our acrylic pendant, and I think that looks really lovely. And this one says, the ache for home lives in all of us, Maya Angelou. And that's our acrylic. And I think that looks really good with that color. Or if you wanted to do this purple color, this is also really pretty. The power of finding beauty in the humblest things makes home happy and life lovely. And that's Louisa May Alcott. So I think that looks good. That goes really well. And we have us in a minty green too. And that's also a fun kind of more citrusy kind of vibe. And that one says, the ache for home lives in all of us. All right. So this strand, that's what we're bidding on tonight, is MVG3, $12 only. DominionMovement.com says, is anyone getting excited about autumn yet and doing anything special? I'm going to Providence tomorrow. It's technically not autumn yet, but it will be over the weekend. And I'm excited. There's a artist who is our keynote speaker, and his name is David Chatham, and he's gonna be doing the keynote speaking. Dominion Movement. So I always wanted to take a trip to New England for fall foliage season, but usually just put out some autumn themed decor. All right, so these are really cool. This is MVG4. It's $11 for this little strand of 5. And this is that cranberry color. And it's little dragon eggs, y'all. Have y'all seen that ever before? And it's got the crackle glass on the inside. So Ava was telling us about how when they're making these, they dump them in cold water and it causes the inside to crack, and then they heat it up to kind of fuse it and anneal it a little bit more so it becomes structurally sound, but it doesn't heal up all the internal cracks, so it kind of makes it glow from within and gives it kind of that variegated color. So you have kind of like, it looks like darker red, cranberry red, and some lighter red, and you get 5 of these little dragon eggs. I don't know about y'all, but I love, well, I don't know if I should say I love. I really like Game of Thrones, and mostly because I like the embroidery. But anyway, so and I like fantasy thing, like dragons. So, but sometimes that show's hard to watch, and then like everybody like suffers all the time. So, um, that's not my favorite part, but I do like dragons and I like dragon eggs. And so there you go. That can be Khaleesi style. So that's $11 for this vintage German glass little dragon egg and cranberry. So it's MBG for $11 only. Suzanne says autumn can't come soon enough to New Orleans. I love autumn. It's my favorite season, and not just because it's my birthday time. So these are approximately 18 millimeters by about 13 millimeters. Let's see. They're a little bit wider. All right. Put that. And that's MBG4. Oh, that one's claimed. So thank you so much. MBG4 has been claimed. Thank you. All right. See a couple folks on Instagram. I don't know who all was watching, but at one point William was on there. Armaza 2013 was on watching. You Betcha Bees was watching. DSR4 was watching. Rosie Portillo was watching. Red Bell Jewelry was watching. Pippi Strella Studio was watching at one point. Oh, and then Lucinda Storms was watching. I love her work. She's pretty cool. All right, so she's a really talented painter from Rochester, New York. All right, this is MVG 5, only $6. And you get these they look like tiger's eye, but they're not. They're vintage German glass, and they've got that kind of goldy kind of, I don't know if you can see that very well, but it's kind of that, looks like tiger's eye. Only $6 for this strand of fish. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on a strand. And then the fish, they measure approximately 6.2, about 6 millimeters this way, and then approximately 16 millimeters that way, and then approximately 4.4-ish, 4.5 thick. So these would be super cute, like on a charm bracelet or earrings. Put those, make that kind of like wire wrap dangles, and only $6, y'all. So that's MVG5, $6 only for those little tiger's eye looking vintage German glass. All right. So next thing we're gonna do, I'm excited about hot apple cider. I don't know about y'all, but caramel hot apple cider is one of my favorite things. When we were kids, we didn't have a lot of money when I was growing up. And my mom, during Halloween, she used to make these things called rappled apples. That's what she called them. But they used to sell caramel in sheets, and then you would wrap the apple, and it was like a way of making caramelized apples. And so she called them rappled apples. And that was like our special kind of fall treat, and I love them. All right, so this is MVG6, only $5 a strand. I have 2 strands available. You only get one, and they're in this really cool kind of pinky, purpley blue color. And Ava described this as when they have a rod, they have like a two-tone rod And so when they press it out, it gets that kind of mottled effect inside of the, or not mottled, but it mixes it when they press them out. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of these pink fish. Those go really well with the pink flowers that I had the other night where I made those wire wrapped rings. If you didn't see that, you can always watch the replay. And I just kind of butted in at one point and did a couple different tutorials, but these go really well with that color. So I don't know if you can see that or not. But this is MBG6, only $5 a strand. And I have 2 strands available. So I think they're cool. I love that pink color, by the way. I picked those out for myself. A lot of the stuff I'm showing I picked out for myself. Some of it, we got more than 1 strand. So I kept them. All right, these are really cool. These are really fun. This is MBG7, $9 a strand. There's 2 strands available. And this is a beautiful cobalt blue transparent glass. And they're frosted. So they're matte finish. And there's a See No Evil, Speak No Evil, and Hear No Evil monkey. So you have a set of 3 of these. They're only $9 for the set. And you get the See No Evil, Speak No Evil. I need to give that to some people. Would they like it if I gave that to them? If somebody's run their mouth and they got this bead in the mail? And this one's Hear No Evil. That's me. I'm going to hear no evil. I'm blocking my eardrum holes. All right. So you get a set of 3, $9 for the set. And there's 2 sets available. That's MVG7. Send it to us an email at info@allegorygallery.com. All right. So these ones, lengthwise, is about 19.7. It's about 20 millimeters by about 12 by about 9-ish. But of course, they're all a little bit different. So there you go. These are super cute. That'd be cute in like either a bracelet as like a reminder, or as like a fun kind of like necklace. I think those are cute. Or if you have like a little friend group, who is like Charlie's Angels, who gets what. So anyways, this is MBG7, $9 per strand. I have 2 strands available. Dominion Movement says a trip to Providence sounds amazing. I want to go to upstate New York, parts of Connecticut, Vermont, and the parts of Massachusetts that my dad's side of family supposedly first came from to America in 1638 from England. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. I went up to Massachusetts this summer. I went up to Snow Farm and took a workshop there, and it was in the Berkshire Mountains, and it was really beautiful. And I loved it. It was a little bit chilly at night the first couple days. And I ended up having to run out and get some sweaters because it was blazing hot here. All right, this is MBG8, $12. I have 1 of these available, and it's so cool. All right, so $12. I got this from my friend Ava while she was here. This is a vintage German glass, and look at it. It's that razzle dazzle business. It's so cool. If nobody buys that, that's all right, because I'm gonna keep it. And it's these little faceted coin shapes, and then they're in that rainbow dark flashes of light. And look at that. Whoa, sparkly. I love that. It's super cool.
Nice.
William's here.
Hello, everybody.
See, I'm selling off the beads I picked out for myself.
I see that.
Yeah, I was a little bit kind of discouraged.
Oh, no.
But, I get to share with my friends, so that's fine. And this is, I want it, but I can't. Someone has to get those. Aren't they pretty? Only $12 too. And you're going to be the Rainbow Nation? Nobody got it yet? MVG8.
Oh my goodness. Look how nice those are.
I think those would be great. You don't need to use a lot of them or use all of them. You want to be the one that's going to be glittering at the nightclub. Oh, somebody claimed them. Thank you. Hallelujah. I was like, did I just pick all duds?
No.
Is all my style
They're probably sad to take them from you.
Well, that's fine. You know what? That just means that I can get more later, right? If it works out,
that's true.
Then Ava's all over the country, and we're like crisscrossing each other. All right, MVG9, $20. A lot of them, though, I picked the last of them. So I went through her collection, and it's kind of like the ones I did in the sample. They call those sugar beads when it gets like this. But these ones are round with a bumpy, but they're smaller than that other one. See here? The one I did in the sample is this bigger one. These ones were 12 millimeter, and these ones are what, 8?
Those are nice.
This is 9. I don't know if I actually know how to use a caliper or not. 9 millimeter.
9 millimeter.
And this is the clear with the crackle and the bumpy and the purpley grapey color. Teresa, I wish I could buy more, but I can't. Well, I have 2 strands of these, and this is MBG9, not Mug 9. That's a V. V for victory. MBG9, $20, and I have 2 of these strands available. Right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So that's a good deal.
That's a lot of beads on a strand.
I know you could make this is long enough to make
$1 a bead.
Yeah, but they're vintage. Look, this would make it just a nice bracelet just by itself. You could put this on the stretchy cord and call it neat and be done. You're like, done. But I would put a little bit of razzle dazzle in there.
You made a nice bracelet today.
Thanks. I also, if you use them sparingly, then they last longer, right? So if you put like a couple of them in to a design, then people are like, what is that witchcraft? What is that magic that you're wearing? And you're like, just you want to know, and I'm for me to know and you not to. All right, and that's a fairly substantial size. Yeah. About 7.5 inches. MVG9, $20. And we're charging what she charged. Look.
No inflation.
So that's how much it costs. And then the first one, nobody claimed not even one bag of the first one. And that's a whole bag of those clear frost ones, $12 only.
Oh my goodness.
Those ones are not from Ava, but all right. So these ones, I really like these ones. I was gonna plan on making earrings with these. So this is MVG10, $18 for a strand, and it's these really cool kind of tessellation. How you call that?
Tessellations.
Tessellation. What's the name of that tile? Terrazzo. Kind of reminds me of that.
Is that the one in the? What's the one in the skulls?
Formica.
No.
Asbestos.
I hope not.
I don't know. But I love that. Terrazzo. And this is cool. They're flat coins. They're double-sided. And these are in kind of a snowy, milky white. And they're $18 for the strand. And they measure approximately 13.8 by 3.7. I'm like, do I know how to use calipers? Because they're like always weird sizes. But then they are handmade. You know, I think that's one of those things. I don't know what that code means. NA. But anyway, so These are really cool. I had some Westmoreland glass that kind of looked like this. And they called that the milk glass. All right, that's MBG10, $18 only. And there you go. One available. So that's what we got. You know what would be cool? Not to extend to say this, but to take the paint that we're working this, the glass paint, and put that in the cracks and then wipe it off the surface. And then it would bring out that thing, kind of like grout. I think that would be cool. You can make your own inlaid style. All right, these ones are super cool. I bought these to make earrings, but you can make them if you want. All right, this is MBG 11, $12 only, and
I know this one's gonna sell.
If it doesn't, that's all right. If any of this stuff doesn't sell, I'm fine completely.
But I know these are like.
So these ones are black and pink, y'all. Black and pink, and it makes that kind of fun purpley color. And what I was gonna do is I was gonna make that be like, I was just gonna have these super modern things, but also in that tray there is some skulls. No, maybe it's over here. Nah, anyways, there's some skulls. But if you wanted to make little skull dollies, let me show you. I'm thinking in my mind. Wouldn't that be cute? It's got a little skull. A little goth thing. And then Ava had these black bows. I don't know if anybody got the black bows, but that'd be so cute. Be like these little skulls, and they have a little dress, and then a little bow on top. That'd be so cute. Little goth, little skull dolly baby. I love that idea. So if y'all don't buy this, I'll make it, and then I charge a lot of money. All right. So this one is MBG 11, $12 only. And you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Suzanne says, cute.
Is that for my vintage glass?
What?
MBG, my vintage glass?
It could be. I was going to say more. See, this says 13.7. That must mean 14. Look, it becomes about 14. All right, I'm just going to say 14 by 12 by 5.5. All right, so one strand available, MVG 11, $12 only. And then that's that. All right, so I'm going to move on. I am working on some necklaces to raise money for my trip tomorrow. So hopefully I'll be able to do that and that people like them. This is MBG 12, $20. Some of that cranberry kind of garnet color and that bumpity bump bead. $20 for the strand, and that's MBG 12, $20 only. All right, and those are the same size as the clear with the purple. So I think that was 9mm. These say about 10. So these are about 10mm, so that they're slightly larger. And there's that. Now somebody sent MBG 20, but we haven't done 20 yet. So if you want to resend it, let me know, because we don't have an MBG 20 yet. And I don't want you to accidentally get something that you don't want. So this is MBG 12, and it's $20, and there's one of those available. Lena says, those are life. How did your surgery go? All right, let me delete that one so you don't accidentally get charged for something you don't want and then be like, what is this? We are going up to 20 tonight, so there is. All right, I love these. All right, there is a story to these. So, and they're fairly inexpensive. This is MVG13, and it's this one. So these ones are called Burmese Vaseline, even though they are from Germany. And so they're a slightly blush pink, but with the kind of glowing green to them. It's $12 a strand. There's these cool, they're like almost like a faceted gumdrop shape. I think those are so cool. And let me see, do we have a black light? Seems like we have so many black lights, and then somehow they just like run away and disappear into the night. I don't know where that business is. Well, they fluoresce. Let me see if I can find it. I mean, it's not that dramatic um, because you can't really see it. It's not dark enough. But that little bit of gold, or that little bit of pink that's in it, that makes they use gold to make that little blush pink, and that's why they call them Burmese, because they use gold, and for some reason that means I guess a lot of gold comes from Burma, or at some point they thought it did. So that little bit of pink is in there, and then that green is that from that uranium salts. So they kind of glow a faint green with a little bit of that peachy pink, and I love that. So this is MBG13, $12 only, and you get that little strand. These are vintage German. All right. Lena says she's doing good and healing until January. All right. I know some of y'all like them fish. This one is MVG 14, $5 only. And this is kind of that reddish color black. It's hard to see. Let me see if I can aim that right. So that would be really lovely if you do any stuff with like polymer with like an ecru kind of ivory and bone color, or just do it with bone. Like I see, I've got like this. That'd be cute with that. And put some things, some black in there with that. I think that could be really pretty with some of that carved bone that we had last night. By the other night, I mean last night. All right, so that's only $5. This is MVG 14, $5 only. And you get a strand of these vintage German glass fish in red and black stripes. All right, I like those. All right, so if you didn't see on my Instagram, I added a short little reel of one of the projects that I've been working on. All right, so this is MBG 15. It's $18, and it's those ones I showed you before. It's kind of got the clear bumpy with kind of a light orange and a darker orange core, and then they also have the crackle inside, and then it's got the kind of bumpy surface. These are really wonderful. These were 12 millimeter. You get 2, 4, 6, 10 of those. That's MVG 15, $18, and you get a strand of that. Those are really magical, and I love them. And I kept some for myself because even though I'm willing to share, I don't want to share everything. Sorry. I'm as much of a bead acquirer and keeper of the beads as y'all are. Ooh, these ones. Now, some of y'all like the green. This is MVG 16, $20. And you have this beautiful bumpy beads in that kind of peridot green. And it's in that probably, 10 millimeter, 9 to 10 millimeter. And it's got those bumpy, it's got the crackle, it's got the light green, the dark green, and it's got all that color. That would go really well with those dragon egg ones, I think. Those cranberry ones, if you wanted to have like a Sarracenia color palette. So this is MVG 16 that's been claimed. Thank you so much. Yeah, we really appreciate it. All right. So these are fun. I know some of y'all will like this. All right, this is MVG 17, $10 for the strand. And it's for these little limes, these little vintage German glass limes. And so I think these are really cute. These are 10 millimeter. It kind of reminds me of those vintage cocktail recipes where they have like the tutti frutti. And these are $10 for the strand, and you get 10 of them on there. And they're the little vintage limes. I love those. At one point, I designed a project for one of the magazines, and it had all the different kind of fruit. It's kind of hard to find them, so I was pleasantly surprised to see these in her collection. So I snatched those out for myself, but I'm gonna share. So this is MVG $17 only for this strand of limes. Susan says, sending healing vibes your way, Lennis. All right, we just have 3 more lots tonight. These ones we do have. So you can, if you're watching the replay, you can claim these. Some of the other stuff when she was here, when she left, she took them with her. So, but these ones I bought for myself. So, ooh, these are cool. This is MBG 18. These are really cool. They're kind of dimpled, but geometrically so. And they're in that wonderful kind of amethyst color. And then they're matte. And in the holes, so they're shiny though. So you get this weird kind of optical illusion happening here. And they're ovals. And you get a lot on here. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wait, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 11. And then they're approximately 18, about 19-ish. Let me see. About 19 millimeters long, about 14 millimeters wide, and then about 8-ish millimeters thick. I'm rounding, y'all. But you get this. This is MVG 18, $18 for the vintage German. And I think when I saw this, she only had one of these, so I got it. So this is MBG 18. These are really lovely. I was going to do earrings with those, but this would make a great focal in a necklace or in a kind of bracelet. I'm working on some kind of charm necklaces, and these would look really great in that too. So anyways, this is MVG 18, only $18, vintage German glass. All right. So up next, we have just 2 more to go, and then I'll be done for tonight. I know tonight wasn't a very long one, even though we're cruising up onto 2 hours here. But I think we had some fun stuff tonight. So this is MBG 19. It's $20, and it's got these melon cuts, um, in melon shapes, and then they've got that kind of almost reminds me of like marbles from back in the day. You know what I'm talking about? Those like shooter marbles, and it's got that kind of orangey brown in the middle, and then clear, and then it's in that fluted press shape. So it makes it glow. And it says, hello, I did not get an FB notification. They are annoying, so I missed 17 posts. Holy smokes. Well, you know what, Anna? If you watch the replay on this, a lot of the stuff wasn't claimed tonight. So you'll probably be very lucky because we only had 20 lots tonight and maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4. So only 4 lots of the 20 got claimed so far. So there's a lot available. So this is MVG 19, $20. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of those beads, and it says cat's eye marbles. Yes. And I think those would be so cute as little pumpkins. There were some fun leaves the other night when we did the Czech flower or the vintage German glass flower and leaf show, and that'd be so cute with like a little leaf. They have like a maple leaf and Czech glass, and I think that looks more like a pumpkin leaf. But these make so cute, like little pendants, and then you could do like a little curlicue of wire for like that. You know how they grow on the vine. So this is MVG 19. They're kind of big, but I love them. They're about 13 millimeters tall and about 15 millimeters wide. And they're $20 for the strand. We only have one of those available. All right, so then last one for tonight, because we are having a short one. I had a headache today, and that kind of put a damper on things today. But I tried to persevere. All right, so up next, and the last one for tonight is MVG 20, and it's these wonderful kind of discs with that kind of tessellation, terrazzo tile, that kind of pattern on both sides, and then it's in transparent kind of cranberry glass color. Those are just lovely. I think those would look really great with those white ones. I think those could be fun. I'd probably, because 'tis the season, I'd probably put some black beads with this and have a little bit of a goth vibe, or put these in with some garnets, some deep garnets, and really play up that juicy color. They have a beautiful kind of pinkish red color, that cranberry deep kind of lovely burgundy color. And I love them. So that's MVG 20, $20 only, and there's one strand available. All right, so that's it for us tonight. If you do want to help support Beads of Courage, we're doing a last call, and then we're going to put our donation in, whatever we raised. I was kind of disappointed that we didn't sell out more, but I get it. There's a lot of things going on in the world, and a lot of people who need help and who need assistance. So, yeah. So if you missed earlier, we also had a little tutorial time. So I made a bracelet and a pair of earrings. We went over simple stringing and making how to measure bracelets. We also talked about how to work with the toggles so that they open and close easily. We also went over some basic wire wrapping for earrings. And we also talked about adding these fun little jump rings in a different way to kind of soften that transition between that little tiny blue quartz bead and that vintage German glass bead for earrings, and I think these are so cute. Like they're little sky berries. I think those are lovely. So, anyways, we made this little set together. I hope you all enjoyed that. I've been trying to incorporate some more little tutorials here and there. So it's not just selling all the time, and also some seasonal types of things. So I hope you all have been enjoying that. I know sometimes it can be like, oh, I don't want to watch another selling thing because, I got enough beads or I'm waiting on some beads in an order or whatever. So we've been trying to do a little bit more tutorials here and there. All right. So hopefully y'all have a great rest of your evening. It is Wednesday night. William was at his pottery class. So that's why I'm flying solo. I'm headed off to Providence tomorrow and I'm going to put together some necklaces, some little charm necklaces, and post those on my personal timeline to get some cash for my gas money so I can get up there to Providence, and have, hopefully a relatively stress-free weekend. I really don't know what to expect because it is our first year and I'm on the planning committee for that. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I'm just assuming, it's a good group of people and I think it'll all work out. It's at the steel yard. So if you are a BIPOC maker, who works in metal, if you're a blacksmith or a metalsmith or jeweler or whatever, please join us. That's happening this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Um, Most of the programming is happening on Saturday. So if you are interested in that, that's happening this weekend. Now in Johnstown, there's the Cambria City Iron Festival, and it's really fun. I've been a couple times and enjoyed myself immensely. It is something that if you want an all day pass, if you're like a serious blacksmith, you can get the full pass, but you can also get a tour pass, and they do like an hour tour and walk you around the facilities and you can see them working on their sculpture using the big hammer. And when I say big hammer, I'm not exaggerating, it is massive. And then if you want, you can stop by and see William at the shop so he's not all lonesome by himself this weekend. Keep him company so he's not, shivering and crying by himself, thinking of me fondly. All right. So a lot of folks sending good energy and safe journeys. And there you go. All right. So I'm going to go. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. And I'm going to try to pop on maybe here or there and show you stuff from the retreat. But I don't know. Sometimes it's good not to be on all the time. I know that's not as much fun, but sometimes it's good to have spaces for people. Just you know. But if anything, I'll add some updates to my Instagram, so you can see also my new piece, my new brooch that I worked on my Instagram or at Andrew Thornton Artist. I think I'm gonna call it Sweet and Juicy, and it's this orange self-portrait brooch that is in it's got kind of the um, some coral and some carnelian and some of that holographic beads that Ava had. And I'm working on a couple different ones of those. So keep your eyes peeled for those on my Instagram. That's Andrew Thornton Artist. And you can find me on Instagram and on Facebook. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. And keep it crafty. See ya.